spend money to make money, and America's hyperscalers are putting that theory to the test. Amazon is the latest tech giant to announce it's pumping massive sums of money into building out AI infrastructure. The company says it plans to spend $200 billion in 2026, a much bigger number than investors expected. And it comes as stocks bounce back from fears that AI could disrupt big software players. So more stuff to not be able to make sense of. Amazon says we're going to spend $200 billion on AI infrastructure. Market says we don't like that. Meta and Alphabet both kind of do the same thing, maybe not quite to the same magnitude, and the market loves what they're doing. So why all these disparities in how people feel about the spend? Does it depend on your core business? What is it?
I think it depends on the ROI. What's the return on the investment? And people haven't seen it yet, right? So we're waiting for that. We're building the railroad. We haven't sold any tickets for it yet, is essentially. I mean, it's a big infrastructure build out. And you're not getting credit until you see it happen. But here's what I'd always point to is like, look at your personal checking account. Show me where you spend your money and I'll show you what you care about. Look at what the Mag 7 companies are spending their money on. And they're not saying like, oh, we're going to put a little bit in here. 60 to 70 to 80% of their cash flow is going to this. They're not making that bet foolishly. They see that the demand is there and that they have a high likelihood of monetizing that in a very favorable way, a very profitable way. So I think to David's point, I'm a buyer here on these dips. They're showing time and time again, we're going to keep spending. Every time we think the estimates are too high, they go, nope, we're spending more. I mean, this quarter alone, we added, 60 billion for some of these individual names of additional spending on AI. That's real. That's not just chasing a fad.
But I think there's like a little bit of kind of wires crossing in this market between the credit story and the spend story. But when there is a nugget of something that bothers people on the credit side, then they start to become sort of very cautious on everything else also.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think there is a concerted effort to try and pick the top, find the hole in the argument that AI is this runaway infrastructure spend that we've never seen, because if you look at the magnitude, I mean, it's accounting for about 2.5% of GDP. If we added up all the tech booms of the past, including telecom and the railroad, it never amounted for that collectively. So I think the scale of it scares people. But to your point, the credit markets, I mean, Oracle got beat up and then they just did a bond offering where they did very favorably. There was increased demand. I mean, you're seeing these bond offerings go up where they have a $5 billion bond for Cipher Mining and $13 billion in demand. So I think, again, it's turned into a show me story. Show me that you can deliver profits. And the Mag 7 have. If we go back about 2.5 years, they were doing about $100 billion in profits. Now they're near $150 billion. So those investments are turning into bottom line profits. I think investors just need to see that. And to your point, see that there's not just one winner or two winners. Everyone's a winner, because this is a trend that you said. We can't keep up with the demand. The insiders are saying, like, we can't meet all the demand.
Maybe you peaked with the stock, and then there was a big decline, and now they're coming back. Ooh. That is what the CEO is saying. They are saying that the disruptive phase of our reset is behind us. We are encouraged by how our fall order book is shaping up, and we turned the corner in December. That December quarter was the bottoming out of our big restructuring, big reset plan, and now we're on the up and up. Remember, Under Armour has pulled back on discounts and plans to cut about 25% of its product lines to focus on higher end categories like training, running, team sports, and maybe this is the beginning of that green shoot that's starting to pay off?
I'll believe it and buy into it in about 3 days if I see some insiders start buying. I would rather play Nike here, where you have Tim Cook and the CEO buying and backing up the truck. Retail, apparel, athletic wear is a hard market to be in. I want to see insiders really demonstrate that conviction with their own capital.
One of the most important sectors that we need onshoring, and it is the way to give us the upper hand in those negotiations and to tell China, we're not going to play your game anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree with critical minerals. I mean, China controls 61% of the mining, 91% of the refining. The U.S. is at 9% and 1% comparatively. It's a critical weakness for us, no pun intended. But I think Jackie's right. The president here, for the first time in decades, is saying, forget this globalization lie. We're going to move to conscious uncoupling, a little Gwyneth Paltrow-esque move. And now we're going to set the terms of the negotiation. Right? We can't ever permanently decouple from these economies. But use the football analogy, we were never meant to be on the same team with the Chinese, right? They're supposed to be an opponent and an adversary that we can have and do things together, but we have to do business in a way that's America first. And I got to give the president credit here. You know, everyone's bemoaned his whole escalation of the tariffs and then coming back, right? The taco trade. But look at what he's done. I mean, he went from 30 to 50 to 70%. Now the effective tariff rate, it's about 10.5%. Yeah. Companies can deal with that. You can still exist and find ways to source products. I mean, we talked about it. Remember last April when Tim Cook, within a matter of 3 weeks, had already figured out how to move his supply chain out of China into India and other countries. This economy and the American economy and American CEOs are more dynamic than I think people.
Can I just throw one word into the mix, which is freedom?
They're living antithetical to everything they preach, but gosh, aren't they interesting? Gosh, aren't they pretty? Gosh, aren't they funny or whatever? And they hold power by doing that.
And that's aspirational, though? Do you think the audience is engaged with, could that be me one day, too? If them, then why not me? Possibly. Is that the power that grips them? Because I think it's completely obvious that it's hypocritical,
I think there's two sides to it, because AOC and Bernie don't go around advertising the fact that they fly on private jets or fly first class or whatever it is that they're doing. So I think you have this aspect of, do you remember, like, when Bill Clinton would wear the, like, rubber watch or the Casio watch or whatever it was? Like, he didn't wear a fancy watch. And I remember thinking to myself, well, what is that all about? And it's like, oh, I'm a man of the people. So they try to show you that. And Mamdani does it too, like the way he dresses and when he's going around. But, you know, they are very clear on how they want to live, but they don't really advertise it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just think of Palmer Luckey, you know, billionaire, who was out in an interview saying he still flies coach. Everyone in his company flies coach because everything communicates. He's like, I'm not different than anyone else.
Bloomberg.
I want to stay in touch.
Used to ride the subway. All right.
Well, everyone knows that people watch the Super Bowl for the commercials, especially me this year. But get ready, America, because this year's broadcast will look a little different. Vodka brand Svedka is rolling out what it says is the first fully AI-generated Super Bowl ad. No actors, no crew. So, is this the future of advertising? Or the start of what critics are calling the Slopper Bowl?
Ooh.
Yeah. Does that have a ring to it or not a great one? I'm interested here. So the chief of marketing behind this campaign is saying, like, look, we're taking a risk already doing a vodka ad in the Super Bowl. It's really meant to start a conversation. So, Jackie, what do you think the conversation is that they're starting here about AI ads?
Oh, boy, I think this is going to add more fuel to the fire. Look what they're doing with AI. It's going to take people's jobs out. Look what it did to the, you know, potential people that could have worked on this commercial. And so it's not surprising to me. I won't be watching the Super Bowl. I don't care about either of the teams. And I also don't care to watch the halftime show. I don't like the woke messaging that goes along with it. That is, you know, maybe not outward, but sort of under there. And so I sort of look at this to a certain degree as an extension of that, because the fear mongers that are out there want to kind of put all this stuff out there to scare people that they're not going to have a job and that their industry or their profession will be eliminated because of the rise of the robots.
Yeah.
And so this kind of stuff is going to happen. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, but, you know, I just urge people to look at it with caution and realize that the industry is changing things in ways you can't even possibly imagine right now. And so don't give in to that fear mongering.
Yeah. You said you have a great example of an AI ad, which I'm dying to hear, because I see this as a fad that, like Jackie says, is going to wane very quickly and return to real human creativity.
Well, I'm going to give you some real human creativity. This is now that I know you will be watching. Have you heard of it? Novo Nordisk is putting out an ad for their weight loss pill because they've been suffering because Eli Lilly is taking it. So they're going old school. They're doing celebrities like DJ Khaled, actress Danielle Brooks, Saturday Night Live star Kenan Thompson are all going to come out and talk about Novo Nordisk and the weight loss pill that has been so successful for them.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
Because remember when they created the AI actress, I can't remember her name, but people were all freaking out about it. The overall reception about that and the analysis was people don't want to see a fake actress that they don't know, that means nothing to them, that doesn't live a real life, because you can't connect with that. And they will connect to the celebrities in a traditional way because those are our celebrities in this country.
Yeah, I don't think Novo Nordisk has a chance. Scientifically, they're inferior. So we can come back. Let's bring it back. You put a finger on the cultural in the last segment, the cultural element of just resonating with the hypocrisy of AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Do they have a commercial in the Super Bowl?
I mean, it might be better than some of their
oligarchy
campaigns.
commercial. Okay, go ahead.
I just think, what does this communicate if we move to AI? How do you think the response is culturally in terms of the human creative element has been so essential? And we talked about curiosity is getting cheaper because of AI, but is it going to get eliminated because of AI, where you take out this creative element from ads?
Well, I don't know. So are we talking about that fembot, brobot commercial right now?
Yeah, they're resurrecting that character.
Did you watch it? So they used to have one of those in a
13 years
commercial?
ago, apparently. Yeah.
That doesn't sound very creative to me, like resurrecting a character from 13 years. Did you watch a commercial? Like, it's not that. I think humans can compete on creativity with AI. I'm not saying that it's as cheap or as easy, but I watched this commercial and I was kind of like, meh. I don't know. It didn't make me want to drink more vodka, is what I'm saying. But I think you can come up with a commercial that humans do, and you know it's by a human because it's got the human touch to it, and maybe it's not even commercials. Maybe it's a different product entirely. But I think AI is kind of sloppy. I do think that AI slop thing is there because it's trying to be human. It's like Kamala Harris trying to be hip to Gen Z too hard, and it kind of gives that same effect.
I'd rather watch AI than Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we were talking about this, using AI. Is this become a tool then? I mean, it's driving down costs, right?
Yeah,
in this vodka ad, they're saying, hey, we didn't really save on costs, but other data shows that it drives down costs 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Results in more clicks, not necessarily brand loyalty, but
y'all have forgotten one famous name from the way past, from my past. I'm talking a long time ago. Max Headroom. Remember Max Headroom?
Who?
Max?
Yes.
You don't even know who Max Headroom is. Folks, you remember Max Headroom, don't you? You folks remember. He was essentially an AI creation before there was AI. So we've done it before. One thing that makes me very happy is all those super libs out in Hollywood are not going to be making millions of dollars from this commercial, you know?
That's true.
I mean, it's lovely to sort of pull the rug out from under these people who are overpaid for
Max Headroom flash from the past. Maybe he comes back in a Super Bowl ad.
Headroom.
You're looking at, Taylor, Philip Morris. What's going on?
Kind of a flash from the past, because anyone still smoking? Lighten up.
Time to time, cigars, that's it.
Okay,
People do all over the street.
Well, I was going to say it's actually less than we think, because they're saying the non-smoking business is now like 40% of their revenue. It is all about the, do I say Zen?
Zen.
The nicotine packs. They're talking about this full nicotine sector that they have. 25 million cans of surplus inventory for Zen, though, is coming downstream in their supply chain. But again, it is all about the non-smoking business for this company, which is pretty phenomenal when you thought about the history and where they've been.
Yeah, look, I think right now we're seeing a rally in consumer staple stocks. This traditionally has been a consumer staple stock, right? Because no matter what the economy is doing, you actually probably smoke more. Now a lot of people use the Zyn. So I think it's an interesting dividend-paying potential defensive play in this market. I don't know.
You just came back from Nicaragua. I'm surprised you didn't bring some cigars with you.
Well, I didn't declare them. Don't tell anyone.
You just fooled a lot of people there, fella.
And they haven't just dropped these stocks. They have absolutely trashed them. We're talking 30, 40, 50% drops in some of the biggest names. Again, I think there's a move afoot on there. And by the way, one other note, I never owned the Dow. I own the Dow. I own the DIA that measures the Dow. The reason being, it's the strongest index at this point in time. Why? Because it owns all that stuff, the nerds. And as long as that's continuing, and again, I do believe it says something about the economy. I've always been a big believer when those areas are getting trashed, worry about the economy. When they're rolling, economy in good stead. Even though the job market and a 5% GDP does not make too much sense to me at this juncture.
Yeah, I mean, I want to put a fine point on something you're saying, just to give you a context on how badly these software companies have been trashed. They were trading at a PE of 35 times. They're now down at 20 times. They're back to historical norms. So I think fundamentally something's changed. The business model, what's the profit margin outlook? There's going to be a lot of winners and losers. I don't jump in whole hog to go short very often, but I think it's a compelling trade there on the bounces. What I think stands out to me most interesting in this, not the staples, not not the industrials, not the materials. Energy is the best performing sector this year. You're seeing that the engine of economic growth, fossil fuels, underpins everything we're doing, and the world is finally waking up to it. This is the last bastion of value in the market. We were talking about it all last year, trading at 15 times earnings, and now the tell was Exxon. It ended and exited 2025, hitting new highs. I think this continues through much of the year.
I saw Exxon break out, and I said, I'm not buying Exxon. Well, 12% later in 3 weeks, and I missed it.
Well, the energy story is just starting to kick in. We were talking about it all of last year, but now you're starting to see some of the fruits of the Trump administration's labor. But just on the point that you made about software stocks and the sell-off and how they're not being valued. To me, when you come back to down to earth sometimes, that's actually a good thing, right? I mean, Gary, you're saying the worst isn't over with respect to the selling, and you're saying the fact that they were sold off that way, I think, it is not a great sign for people having confidence in them, but maybe people are rotating out of stuff, and a healthy valuation is where you.
Yeah, I think it's a rotation out, but also you got to sort the winners from the losers. I think there are going to be some software companies, to your point, right? If AI can do an analyst job today and give you the opportunity to only hire one, that'll help you increase your performance. So now you're going to need two anyway because you have more assets under management. So there's job loss on the front side, but it could lead to job creation. The software companies, I think some of them, I think the point has been made by a few people that if you think these software companies are just sitting back and letting AI eat their lunch, you're crazy. They've been innovators, right? They're going to respond to this and find ways to survive and thrive, but not all of them. To Gary's point, there's some that are very vulnerable.
By the way, I hope I'm wrong. I've made a lot of money in software stocks throughout the years, but go look at the charts of Intuit, ServiceNow, HubSpot, they haven't dropped. They fell off the Grand Canyon ledge and found nothing underneath. I'm absolutely stunned and amazed how far they've gone, and I've always been a big believer that the market, when all said and done, is pretty darn smart, and to drop things 50, 60% usually is meaningful. 20% is a correction, 50, 60, ouch.
Jackie,
I call it normalization to what should be done. I've never understood the gargantuan difference in drug prices around the world. And what's the line? I guess he's the phrase "best practices" which is we're going to be in line with the lowest price everywhere. Where's the downside? I don't see any.
Lou, you follow these companies, though, and so I'm wondering if you see this because you are in big biotech, which needs the big R&D, needs to be subsidized, but do we have to subsidize it?
Well, I think it has to be normalized or reasonable because innovation isn't free. I mean, if you look at the average cancer drug, it takes 12 years to get to market, at least $2 billion. 97% of cancer drugs don't even get to approval. So you have to fund that low probability. It's like venture capitalism in biotech. But I think the president's right here. Bring transparency to it. Hey, what are Americans paying? This really helps the underinsured and the uninsured the most by bringing that transparency to prices, which I think is a net win for everyone.
The Trump administration is preparing to take America's AI technology global, pushing a new exports program aimed at getting American artificial intelligence to partners and allies. The president's chief technology officer saying the U.S. needs to aggressively sell its AI tech overseas so countries don't turn to competitors like China. The White House is expected to request industry proposals for that program early this year. Okay, so I think one of the questions on this is how involved should government be in whatever aggressive AI exports are supposed to look like? Lou, I'll come your way first because I know you have some thoughts on this, but you want to see a lot of government hand in this or really not so much?
I want to make sure the government's keeping an open market and a free market. This is a national security issue. It is the bleeding edge of innovation. You're seeing leadership change in AI, large language models weekly. This is not something that we can be like Bernie Sanders says and slow down. Let's put a moratorium on it. We have to move fast, break things, and make sure we have open markets. So I know this is a contrarian stance, but I am all for exporting all of America's AI technology out to earn the revenue, to reinvest those proceeds and those profits for the next leg of innovation, because this is not something that's slowing down anytime soon. If we fall behind to other countries, I don't know that we'll ever catch back up.
So, okay, so if you're saying export AI tech to, I don't know, the Netherlands. I don't see any problem with that, right? Okay, but are you including China?
100%
China. You want to send better. So we're sending them the H200 chip, which is kind of like, I don't know, it's like the Buick of cars. It's not the Cadillac, okay? You're saying send them the Cadillac chips.
Send them the Range Rover, send them everything.
Really?
Yes, because
I totally disagree.
Here's why. China has the wherewithal. We talked about it last. They will get those chips one way or another. If they get them through roundabout ways, we're not necessarily getting the revenue. So I think
give them the H200 to keep our lead. They'll build on the American stack, but we're not going to give them the best and brightest because they will engineer it. And I would rather them break apart the H200 and try to figure out what we're doing instead of handing them over the latest Vera or Rubin, and then they do it, and then they force Huawei to copy it and do it. I want them at least a couple generations behind.
They have not demonstrated any capacity, whether it comes to RF filters in smartphones, to the leading AI chips. Taiwan has all the expertise there. I don't think China can do it, and they're going to try and do it anyway.
China's doing it with BYD in those EV cars because they re-engineered what Tesla was doing. BYD did it for cheaper, and now they're exporting that to Canada. They will do that with the Vera.
I know I'm the contrarian, so I'm here to play devil's advocate.
You might not.
They're going to do it anyway. Don't make it easier for them. And that is the tack I think I'm taking right now.
Yeah, what defines a good chip anyhow versus a bad chip these days? I mean, these things have been out there.
There's the argument that within a year and a half to 2 years, they're obsolete. The next generations that come along. But look, I ascribe to that same thinking. Is like, we shouldn't give them the best, but here, I'm super skeptical. I'm usually the very optimistic, glass half full guy. I don't think China will ever stop trying to steal. They've never tried to stop stealing any of our IP. They're going to get their hands on the chips one way or another. They have all the financial resources and the wherewithal and the connections. Just accept the inevitability and accept that today's chip is going to be replaced in 6 months from now. And
so deal with them and keep your enemies close.
Yeah, keep your friends close.
Although, Brian, though, whether you like it or not, this is certainly a company that people are dealing with. But do not get me wrong. There have been big concerns with this company when it comes to child safety.
Is this where you get like an adult playing the game?
It can be.
Says, I want to be your friend in the game, and then why don't you send me this?
And a few countries have blocked this from allowing to operate in their country because of concerns.
Yeah, this is a $48 billion market cap company. It's a huge business.
Yeah.
I laugh when they call it esports. It's like gaming is not athletic. I have seen a few innovations here where you bring like virtual reality treadmills in, but Roblox I think is being viewed as an AI play too, because you have so many users and data, and it's it was a big play for the metaverse for Mark Zuckerberg to get into that.
And by the way, it's up 10% today or something, but it's still down about 40 or 50% from the highs, and that's what I mean by as they go up, I'm going to be watching. Because I think a lot of these things are down for the count just because.
The next great short seller is right there.
Yeah.
All right, take it from the richest man in the world. Money doesn't buy happiness. Elon Musk saying on X, saying whoever coined that expression really knew what they were talking about. But does it? Or is Musk just out of touch? I mean, there is a correlation between wealth and happiness here, Brian. It's been studied, but says there's a law of diminishing returns, that after the millions and you get into the billions.
Yeah. Like if you can't afford a sandwich and then you can afford a sandwich, you're probably happier. Okay, so like up to a certain point, it does help. Once you get beyond that point, it doesn't really help. Yeah, I think Musk is right, but let me put like a caution in here. Sometimes I think the left likes to use the argument that money doesn't make you happier to say we shouldn't care so much about things like economic growth. This was a big deal, like GDP. We shouldn't do GDP because GDP doesn't measure the joie de vivre, the joy of life. France has higher happiness and lower GDP. They throw that at you all the time. So I agree with Elon Musk, but prosperity is good for humans. Let's not kid ourselves.
So is there a level of prosperity, though, that helps, Jackie? And what do you think, right? I mean, people say, like, would $1 billion make your life a little bit happier?
I don't want $1 billion. $1 billion comes with a lot of problems. You're right. There is a point of diminishing returns.
It does?
I think so, when it comes to having a lot. But also, I would say this. I think that money makes life easier for people. It can solve certain problems easily, but there are other problems it doesn't solve at all. It doesn't, cure an illness if you have a life-threatening illness.
I was going to say, ask a sick man who's wealthy what his problem is.
Right.
His problem is his illness.
And it also doesn't cure unhappiness that is deeply rooted and inside just because you can spend money and buy things. And I said before we started the segment that some of the most wealthy people I know, sadly, are some of the most unhappy people I know. And they could buy anything that they want. So, you know, I think to Brian's point also, you have to kind of just take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah, in my unscientific study, I've said that I see people that attain wealth, it just amplifies who they are. If they were wildly generous to begin with, they get even more so. If they are a little Scrooge, they get even more so. Gary, I'm curious, though, what do you think about this in terms of the American dream? Are we supplanting that with just more quality time instead of more money? If we wash away this and believe the leftist argument that we don't need to make more money, you don't need to pursue prosperity.
Well, I think the American dream is not just about money, but it's upward mobility. It's starting somewhere and growing and being better and stronger and moving up in life. And again, not just money. But I must tell you, my little life small sample, I cannot begin to tell you how many very wealthy people I have met that are miserable and are nasty and are mean. And how many that I know that don't have a lot on them are sweethearts and see, you know, instead of clouds in the sky, they see blue sky. So I don't believe money is everything, but leave no doubt, it certainly helps to have some, because there are still plenty of people without a dime out there that, and as you know, I think our welfare system is, how many different programs we have, giving out trillions of dollars at this point in time. So there's still a lot of people out there without.
Yeah, and if you look at the mental health statistics, we can't say we're a happy society necessarily. But I'm curious, how do we bring this back to the K-shaped economy we keep hearing about, right? How do you bridge that gap? Is it simply money? Is it
Brian
purpose?
nailed it. It's GDP growth. 5% GDP growth can almost cure all of our problems, because it is the way in this society and capitalism in America that you can go from the lower income to the middle income, from the middle income to the upper income. The best indicator of how I can grow up the socioeconomic ladder is high GDP growth. It is opportunities. It's not equal outcome, it's equal opportunity, that I can start to climb my way up and dig myself out of the hole in ways that a low growth economy cannot do. So I'm kind of channeling my inner Larry Kudlow here. 4 or 5% GDP in this country, you have a better shot of doing everything with your life than you have anywhere else.
Yeah, but so let me throw this, it's a jump ball here, because we've talked about this in different ways on political aspects. Is this just a marketing issue, right? Is it a messaging issue? Are we not advocating that better GDP growth lifts everyone up? We're just talking about spending too much time on a K-shaped economy. Should we be focusing on the positive impacts?
For the young, it's about parentage, as far as I'm concerned, is making sure your sons and daughters know that there's tremendous opportunity out there, and it's what you make of it. You work harder, you work smarter, you work longer, you educate yourself well. And you have a much better chance than somebody that sits on their rear end and complains about everything 24/7. Simple as that. I work very closely with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida. I've been a board member for over 20 years, and a lot of these kids do not have that, only have one parent. And our job is to make them feel important about themselves. We have computers coming into these places so they learn coding and things like that, give them a leg up. And a lot of them, I know a couple of them that are brain surgeons right now. It's just about being in the right, not just the right spot, but really applying yourself and having a good mentorship and things like that.
Yeah, amen to that. I will give Musk one thing right. He said that you should aim to make more than you take and be a net contributor to society.
Love that.
I think
philanthropy.
We need more people
and if you want to give each of us $1 billion, Elon, if you're watching, we'll see this experiment.
I don't want $1 billion.
Jackie said 100.
I'll take hers.
It's too much to invest, and you have to decide how you're going to give it away, and that's a lot
Put
of
it
work.
in your Dow, your 5 points from Dow 50,000,
Get
Jackie.
the Dow 50,000 hats out. We're getting close.